Hello, Texas government. How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to the class. Students, this will be your last video from me. I have been thrilled to serve as your professor. I'm glad you took my class, students. And today it is Friday, and I owe you a pretest. There will be no lecture on Monday, no lecture video upload next week. Next week is finals week. I need for you to take good notes from this lecture, whatever you need to do to retain the content in this lecture. This is the pretest. Let's get you prepared for the final exam, students. But I need for you to pay close attention because I don't want you to miss any content or any context of the questions. So let's start a discussion about potential test questions. The process that you will take this final exam will be the same as you are aware from the first exam and second exam. So let's continue that same discipline for success on the final exam. Now, students, there are a total of 10 questions. Some questions are multiple choice. Others are true or false. So I've structured this exam differently than prior exams. So there are some multiple choice questions, okay? So please be aware. So let's go through potential questions. But before I get into pretest, I want to steer your attention to chapter 10 in the Governance in America book. You recall this book, Governance in America. I walked through your chapter 9. I want to continue the discussion in the chapter 10. But before I get into chapter 10, I want to discuss the political theories of democracy. And there are three. There is the classical, and this is operating straight from textbook, students. Classical democracy. It is your traditional individual can influence democracy, shape laws, shape public opinion. And you recall, students, the definition of public opinion is essentially any act or decision by the government is essentially public opinion. So with these three different theories of democracy, first is classical democracy. This is where an individual can have an opportunity to shape public opinion or public policy. And that is from pulling out your cell phone and videotaping the conduct of an officer, police officer, during an arrest. That's pulling out your cell phone because cell phones are very powerful. The video imaging can immediately go around the world. That is a form of accountability. So the individual using that cell phone can influence public policy and the behavior of government. That's an individual. One cell phone used by one human can influence public policy in a classical democratic way. Majority rules, majoritarian democracy. This is the concept that you probably have heard, where majority rules. And so in a case where a majority rules, the majority can definitely shape public policy and laws in government, where you have the majority. It's no longer the individual, it's the majority. And the last is this pluralist democracy. This is essentially an approach that divides the power amongst many. In other words, many stakeholders can influence and shape government in this pluralistic many who can shape democracy. So that concludes chapter 9. Now I want to focus in on chapter 10. And chapter 10, let me give you the context of chapter 10, students. Chapter 10 is essentially your case study, your discussion post, essentially. How do you build future cities in Texas? Future local governments, new city halls. Texas is undergoing tremendous population growth. What we do know is Texas has tremendous undeveloped land in the state of Texas. Also, what we do know is Texas land area is second largest of all 50 states. Number one, you already know this, students, is Alaska with land area, not population, with land area. So chapter 10 is essentially, how do you take undeveloped lands that's not a part of any one city of all the cities in Texas? This undeveloped land that's in no one's city, no man's land. No one lives there, no buildings, no structure, just open green space in Texas. How do you take this area and develop new economies, new cities for the future? Well, chapter 10 is that toolkit or that method to get there, along with, of course, the case study. That's if you read the case study. So chapter 10, when you read chapter 10, students, I want you to read it with an eye towards this one term called unregulation or unregulated. So whenever you see that term unregulated in chapter 10, that is referring to whether the state of Texas has standards for building new local governments where people live, eat, work, and shop. People are born in these new cities and they pass away in these new cities. So they live their entire lives in Texas cities. It's an awesome responsibility to become a trailblazer to build new cities that persons will live in for 300, 400, 500 years or longer. To give you some sense, students, the chapter 10 is titled Public and Private Non-Governmental Business Partnerships and State Preemptions. Let me break that down. Just purely the title of chapter 10. Public means the government, okay? That's any public entity. Like state government, city government, county government, that's a government function to serve the people in a democratic society. So whenever you hear the term public, it means all inclusive. Everyone can benefit. But when you hear the term private non-governmental, that's referring to business, private sector. That's referring to non-governmental. So non-governmental means our business model as a private business is not to serve the public, okay? For example, police, fire, courts, economic development, airports, housing, code enforcement, uh, all of these functions, you do what? You serve the public. That's your business model as government. But when you're private business, you create products. And in the manufacturing of products, you build new markets for selling those products. But you're not in the people serving business like government. You're in the manufacturing and ultimately the sale of your products. So your motivation is a spreadsheet and a return on your investment to the highest power. In other words, you're profit driven. Government is service driven, not profit. So, in the opening title of this chapter, public and private non governmental business partnerships and state preemptions. All that means is that government and private business must work together with state regulations or preemptions. To all a preemption means is that it's regulated. Okay? It's all a preemption means is that it's regulated. Government has some control. So what I'm saying in chapter 10, the title, government and private business must work together in a partnership. For what purpose? To build new cities and build new economies. Okay? The simplest way for me to convey chapter 10 is about how can public in partnership with private new business who wants to grow new markets, new sales, new economic opportunities, how can they work together in a limited regulated environment in Texas? There are limited regulations for these entities to come together. There are regulations, but they're limited. My key takeaway to you is in that space of being limited creates opportunities for huge innovations. Innovations where? In land development. Bringing in new business, bringing in new partnerships between government and private business to grow totally new economies in Texas, adding to the economic growth of the state of Texas, adding to the gross domestic product for the state of Texas, adding to the rich, vibrant economy of the state of Texas. And so, chapter 10, I really want you to be aware, students, there is limited regulation. So, but I'm proposing more regulation, but it's tailored specific regulation. This regulation will not limit economic growth. The regulation is simply this. If you build, just think about the state of Texas geography, huge land area. If you build a city, new city, like your case study, real world, those of you who read the case study, if you build a city around in rural areas, and this is all rural, RURAL, throughout the state of Texas, if you build a city up near outside of Dallas, hour and a half, hour outside of Dallas in rural areas. Well, if you build another city down near Houston, you build another city over near Austin, you build another city down by San Antonio, The question is, does the state legislature regulate quality standards that are uniform within all of these newly forming cities that's building from the ground up at birth? The answer to that question is there are no high quality excellence standards. Excellence how, Professor Edwards? Excellence in planning, excellence in comprehensive master planning, which is comprehensive master planning. All it means, students, is where you have multiple conditions and criteria for building new cities, where it's comprehensive. It's not only one thing or two things, it's very comprehensive and strategic. Texas does not have that standard in place. Someone can build a poor standard city. Yes, it may look good on its face. People may move in, but over the test of time, because it was built poorly on the front end, on the back end over time, the city will start to decay. Infrastructure is poorly built. The capacity of, instead of a 2-lane, did they plan for a 4-lane highway? Instead of a small water tower and water lines underground, did they build water lines with added capacity to accommodate new population growth? And so quality standards, design standards of both infrastructure and buildings must be considered on the front end very strategically, so that over time in that city, you will not have decay and aging to the point where persons start to not move into that community. So my point is this: you want to build cities that continue to appreciate over time with investment coming in, instead of poorer quality cities that depreciate over time where investment moves out. Point with chapter 10 is creating a uniform standard that's consistent, high quality excellence in building new cities in the future of Texas. That standard does not exist in our state, where it's uniform and consistent between South Texas, North Texas, East Texas, West Texas. So there's no uniform consistency standards in planning new Texas cities for tomorrow. So students, when you read chapter 10, I want you to pay close attention to the term unregulated. But you recall, I'm saying it needs to be a tailored, very specific area of regulation by the Texas legislature. That law is not in place. It's a hole. It's void. It does not exist. So I'm proposing that law, proposed law, not yet law, in chapter 10. So let's now get to potential test questions, okay? Students, you'll do fine on this exam. You will get prepared if you watch this video. Again, I'm going to refer back to, it's been a privilege having you in my class. There's no other class that you'll see that's designed like mine. Basic disciplines in this class. If you watch these videos, you get prepared, you take notes, you understand the expectations of the class, you'll do well. Those students who never get these basic disciplines in my class, you may struggle, okay? But if you watch this video, you will be prepared for this final exam. So let's go and get you prepared. 10 questions, okay? So your exam, students, as you know, take a look at that syllabus. You know the date for your final exam is May 14th. So essentially, when you wake up May 14th, that exam will be accessible for you, whatever time you wake up. By the time 11:59 p.m., 1 minute before midnight, that's when it'll close. 11:59 p.m. is when it'll close. So all of you working students out there, all of you students out there lifing it, hey, I get it. I've allocated more than enough time on May 14th for you to take the final exam. Once you are locked out of the exam, that's it, it's closed. I should start finalizing final course grades on Friday. So Friday by around midday, final course grades should be posted and available for you. So students, let's get you through that final exam. One last point that I need to make. Students, monitor your emails basically from this Friday to next Friday. Some students, I'll be in communication with you vis-a-vis email. Other students, this does not apply to you. But I've got some students that I'll be in contact with you via email because I may need clarity on something. I may have a question for you about a grade, an assignment, etc. Okay. And also, several entries in the grade center. I will be making those entries throughout the weekend and on into next week. Okay, to totally update the grade center. Email is the best mode of communication to me. Okay, email. So now let's get into these questions, students. Question number 1. The pluralist democracy approach divides the power amongst many. Is true or false? Question number 2. Equality of opportunity. This is a multiple choice question. Equality of opportunity means you got 4 choices. A, everyone has the same starting point from birth with resources. That means when everyone is born in the maternity ward, when they go home, they all have the same resources for opportunities and success in life. B, you think alike. C, court case in Cuba. D, elimination of artificial barriers to success. Question number 3. Economic equality means you have 3 potential choices. Everyone has the same starting point from birth with resources. B, each person should have approximately the same wealth. C, neither Americans nor Texans believe in this form of equality. Question number 4. What's an interlocal agreement? A, you have 4 potential choices. A, taxes. B, court fees. C, tariffs. D, an agreement between federal, state, and local government. Question number 5. What does partnerships represent? A, doing things alone. B, doing nothing. C, unaffordable. D, partner with other political jurisdictions for a common purpose. Question number 6. What is regionalism? A, the arts. B, dog parks. C, federal government. D, Greg Abbott, the governor, Texas governor. Or E, many political jurisdictions working together for an economic benefit. Question number 7. 2 loopholes. This is a true or false. Question number 7 is true or false. 2 loopholes of unregulated state preemptions and absent, and absent mandates require local governments long-term comprehensive city master planning. Is that true or false? Question number 8. Effective land use development through unregulation with uniformity in Texas, meaning quality standards do not exist in building new Texas cities. Is that true or false? Question number 9. The innovations in this unregulated space of land development, a poor city can become economically competitive. True or false? Question number 10. The case study talks about rural, RURAL city regionalism, not a large big city. Is that true or false? So now, students, I'm going to go from 10 back to 1 and give you some hints, and then we're done. That'll conclude this video. 10 is read that case study. Do you think that case study was a large urban area or a rural innovation? You had essentially an established, existing, historic 140-year-old city compared to a newly birthing from zero, newly forming city. The question here in 10 is, the case study talks about rural city regionalism, not big city. Is that true or false? Question number 9. The innovations in this unregulated space. I want you to read that case study and determine if that established older city that was at the brink of decay through that case study was able to turn itself around and become an economic engine for Texas. Is that true or false? Based on the case study. Based on the case study. And take a look at chapter 10. Question number 8. That the response is through reading chapter 10. What do you think? Is it true or false based on this question number 8? Question number 7, directly out of your textbook reading, chapter 10. Question number 6 is purely lecture, students. The lecture when we discussed chapter 9 students. Question number 5, directly out of the lecture when we discuss chapter 9. Question number 4, directly out of the lecture, chapter 9. Also chapter 10, okay? Question number 3, directly out of chapter 9. Here's a hint for question number 3. When you read chapter 3 and you see that term economic equality, make sure you read that whole paragraph and don't stop at the first sentence because it's going to confuse you. It's going to change your response. Question number 2, directly out of textbook reading chapter 9. Question number 1, directly out of textbook reading chapter 9. Students, you have been great in this class. I applaud you. If you'd like to take a future class from me, the federal government class, it's full, I believe, in the summer. My courses in the summer, I teach 4 federal government classes this summer. They're all full. You can take it in the fall, federal government. But again, it's been great having you in my class. Students, I'm signing off. That concludes this pretest, and this will be my last lecture. There's nothing, no videos you'll see from me Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, okay, into next week. Next week is finals week. I just need for you to do one thing. Get prepared to take the final. That concludes my presentation. As I mentioned to you, students, the final exam date, look at the syllabus. You know the date, students. Please, please read the syllabus, okay? That date is the 14th of May. Please, please make yourself available to perform on this final exam on that date, May 14th. Thank you. I'm signing off.